Hey gang, how are you? How are you this morning? Welcome to the warm-up, to the morning warm-up. And for the first time, I could actually say good morning, at least from my side of the world. So thanks for coming. Really, really appreciate you guys being here. And hang on. Sorry, sounds like my studio is falling apart. Just wanted to say thanks for being here with me today. We are on issue number 6. Social distancing day for me, 26. How you holding up? I'm doing okay. Yesterday was a bit of a rough day, but I think we all experienced them, the ups and downs. I wanted to thank you again for the immense distraction of allowing me to do the show for you guys, with you guys. As always, I want to let you know that if you have any suggestions, any ideas for future episodes, I'm going to try to do 3 a week if I can. Not all of them will be interviews. You'll see next week that we'll change it up a little bit. But any suggestions are incredibly welcomed. Today we have an amazing guest. We got Humberto Ramos, artist extraordinaire, and one not just a great artist, but one of the most beautiful people I know, heart and soul. The guy is he's just a terrific human being, and another really great friend of mine. So I think maybe last week or the week, I don't know. It's all weeks and days are running into each other. I was talking about something that I remember reading on Twitter, and I couldn't attribute it to who the actual writer was, and I was paraphrasing it. And thanks to my dear friend Kirsten Sinclair, she hunted it down and found it for me. And first of all, hi to Kirsten out there. I know she's watching. She's a big fan of the show. But then again, she's a friend of mine, so she's got to watch. But I want to send out a big thank you to her mom. You know what? I keep getting telemarketers calling me during the show. And I apologize. I can't shut my phone down because I have family members and emergencies or whatever it may be. So I hope you guys understand that sometimes the phone will buzz. But yeah, thanks to Kirsten. Hi to her mom, Linda Lou. Hope they're being safe out in their neck of the woods. But she found the actual quote for me, and it was by none other than Paul Williams. So before getting to Paul, this is what Paul had written. This is a couple of weeks ago. When you go out and see the empty streets, the empty stadiums, the empty train platforms, don't say to yourself, it looks like the end of the world. What you're seeing is love in action. What you're seeing in the negative space is how we do care for each other. For our grandparents, is how much we do care for each other. Our grandparents, for our immunocompromised brothers and sisters, for people we will never meet. People will lose jobs over this. Some will lose their businesses, and some will lose their lives. All the more reason to take a moment when you're out on your walk or on your way to the store or just watching the news to look into the emptiness and marvel at all that love. Let it fill you and sustain you. It isn't the end of the world. It's the most remarkable act of global solidarity we will ever witness. And that was by Paul Williams. And for those of you who don't know who Paul Williams is, he is, again, one of the greatest songwriters on the planet. From writing for Three Dog Night to David Bowie, Barbra Streisand, to the Muppets. Remember Rainbow Connection? That's Paul Williams. That's Paul Williams. So the band has a way with words. The band has a way with music. And I just thought that was one of the most beautiful things I've read, or probably the most beautiful thing I read coming out of this virus thing. Also, if you guys aren't familiar, our governor here in New York, and New York's been hit really, really, really hard. Our governor here in New York has started a campaign, a hashtag campaign, which is, I stay home for. Where people are saying who they stay home for. So I wanted to let you guys who I stay home for. I stay home, of course, for my family, but I primarily stay home for my mother-in-law, Diana DeKezian. Love her dearly, and she's out there. She's on her own right now and hunkering down. And I send her all my love all the time. And I also I stay at home for my aunt. Rosa Quesada, and she's in Florida and hunkering down because it's hitting there. It's hitting everywhere, but it's starting to hit in Florida. And look at that shirt. Look at this shirt that gal is wearing. That's a homer. that ash shirt. So love to my tia Rosa. Love her very much. Um, so we have a great. Oh, actually, I want to ask you, who are you staying home for? You know, keep them in mind. Follow the rules that are given to us, and let's hope we could all beat this thing sooner rather than later. Um, so again, we're going to bring on Umberto right now, and if you guys have any questions, make sure to send them in quickly because they have to be funneled then through me. I have a few questions that were already asked online that I'm going to present to Umberto with. And if you guys need to ask future questions, hang on, I gotta figure out, it's that one. Those are my social handles right there. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. Again, I can't get back to everybody, but I am reading as much as I possibly can. So let's talk a little bit about our guest Umberto before I bring him on, and before I probably screw up what I have to do here. But Humberto Ramos is, again, a dear friend of mine. I met him very early on in his career, very early on in my career. I was such a huge fan of his work when I first saw it, working at DC on Impulse. So I'm going to bring Humberto on right now. He is live from Mexico City. Humberto, turn your volume on. Are you there, my friend?
Yeah, I'm here. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Humberto, how are you, man?
Pretty happy to be here with you. I'm
Thanks.
actually pretty nervous. Yeah, you make me nervous every time.
I know. I had that effect on people. I make them very nervous.
I know you do.
Yeah. Humberto, thanks, man, for being here. Listen, first of all, let me ask you, how are you? How's your family? Are you guys, hunkering down, staying safe, healthy? Everybody okay over there?
Yeah, happily, so far so good. Our family is okay. Friends are okay. All the people close to us here, it's safe and healthy.
Yeah.
So we are trying to keep it that way.
Yeah. How's Mexico City as a whole? Is the city staying in? Are people being as safe as they possibly can?
It's hard. Yeah, some people. There's let's say two versions of this here in Mexico. There are people like us who are really taking this deal for real, and take care of each other and stay safe and following the rules and stuff. But there's a lot of people also. Some of them because of their jobs. Some people outside Mexico need to understand maybe, or have to understand, that economics here works differently.
Yeah.
A lot of people live day by day from the money they can get. Yeah. And many of the restaurants, stores, things that were from where people get their money, their payment, they are closed. And there's a lot of we call it not formal economics, like people who sell stuff in the streets and that kind of thing.
Yeah, the vendors.
We have a lot of that. Yeah, vendors. We have a lot of that, and those guys, there's no other way to get their daily coin to buy their food for the day, but going out.
Yeah.
So that's a tricky part. But also there's a lot of people who don't want or they choose not to believe that this is for real, and people is going through hard times, and they just, like today, I was watching the news before we started. Today is Good Friday, right? It's Holy Week here. Well, Mexico, we are really heavily Catholic, and it's a tradition to eat fish today. How you call that in English? When you can't eat meat because it's the Holy Week.
I think we call it. Well, you're abstaining, but I think we call it Good Friday.
Yeah. Vigilia, we call it in Spanish.
Okay.
Well, so there's a fish market in Mexico, and today was packed. Is packed actually. I mean,
Right.
and there were some news reporters going to that place and asking people why they were doing that. If we have these contentions, and they said, well, I don't believe we are under any danger. And many people said that. So that's we have these different versions of the and stages of the epidemic, the pandemic here in Mexico. So hopefully people get to understand that, because that's the only way we ended up as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Other ways, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand the frustration. I mean, I see it, a bit of it here in New York, but not. I've been so floored with the behavior of the city as a whole. With the exception of the workers that are needed. The medical workers, the firefighters. I mean, there's a fire station around the corner from where I live, and they're usually their fire station door, the garage doors open, and they're cleaning the trucks. It's been in lockdown, but you see them come out when necessary. So everybody's trying to do their best with the social distancing. But on a brighter note, Umberto, I'm glad you're healthy, your family's healthy, and hopefully everyone that out there can stay as healthy as possible. But let's talk a little bit about your career, because how many years now have you been in comic books? So yeah, it seems like forever.
It's been forever. It's 27 years this year.
Wow, 27. So
27.
at what age did your parents know that you were artistically inclined? I mean, tell me a little bit about your growing up, and when you discovered that drawing is what you wanted to do, being an artist is something that you wanted to do.
Right. Well, my family is more addressed to engineering. My dad's an engineer. My older brother is an engineer.
Hmm.
Many of my uncles and cousins are engineers. And I had this artistic vein, and I always enjoyed drawing. Um, we are a soccer country here. So when my brother wanted to go out and play some soccer, I wanted to stay in and draw the cartoons from the TV. That's how I learned that I really enjoy drawing a lot,
Right.
a little more than the average kid, right? So I was around 8 years old, maybe, when I was first. Before that, my mom and dad they bought me everything they got it at the newsstand.
Hmm.
They bring it down, and so we can read. So we read from the Looney Tunes to the Disney to the DC to the Marvel to the all the westerns, the love comics, everything. But about about eight, I was around 8 years old when I read this comic book, The Amazing Spider-Man, and in Spanish we call it El Asombroso Hombre Araña. And there was a cliffhanger story. So that was the first time I remember consciously wanted to go back the next week to
Right.
the newsstand and buy the following comic to see what's going on with this character. Because before that I was happy reading whatever and it didn't matter really if the story ended or not. Uh, so that was the first time that I wanted to follow some characters' story, some comic book, and so when I got in love with Spider-Man that at age 8, and I started drawing them
Yeah.
everywhere. My through classes, in my free time as my hobby. And but I wasn't really aware this was an actual job
A
that
career,
somebody
yeah, yeah.
do. And because, well, in Mexico we're really far from the industry as it is, or we were at that point at least. And so my first approach to that was around I was, yeah, age 13. I wanted to be a superhero. I mean, like a real superhero. So I designed my superhero costume myself, an actual Spider-Man costume with, like things that you can attach to the walls and
Right.
X-rays and stuff. Of course, there was no way that I was going to be able to do that. And I always was pretty A to B student. So
Mhm.
I decided that I wanted to be a scientist, because at some point I was going to be able to turn myself into an
Right.
actual
You're
superhero.
you're gonna radiate a spider and make sure it bites it. Yeah,
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 yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Then like at age 14, I decided that wasn't possible, and I still wanted to draw. So I focused myself into drawing, and I finished high school, and I got to university, and I studied graphic design. And some of my classmates were into comics as well, and they were working already in comic books in Mexico.
Wow.
Comic books in Mexico are more addressed to adults. Think something like uh, heavy metal, not because of the
Right.
science fiction and that, but because it has more like adult
Yeah, yeah.
themes.
Say no more. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good
Yeah.
enough. So I started working there as assistant penciler, assistant inker,
Mhm.
all those kinds of things. And going out with these guys, and I'm finally um, getting into the business, the industry in Mexico. I heard about this thing they picture like as Shangri-La for comic book creators. This little convention in this city, called San Diego, and they told me these stories about you bring your portfolio and have a
Right.
portfolio reviews, and if you were good enough, you might be getting a job there. But if you didn't, if in the editor saw your work and didn't like it, then you are banned forever. So you have only one shot. That's the way
Wow.
they told.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it was
So
like
it was
an urban legend. Part of it was, but only one that was slightly based on truth.
right. So
Yeah.
part of it was true, but uh, but it gives you or brings to you a lot of fear, and but also you want to have the shot, at
Yeah.
least be able to say, okay, I did it, it didn't work, but at least I tried. I didn't want to live my life with the what if in my mind.
Yeah.
And
There's a quote. I think it's Michael Jordan that said it. That you uh oh, I'm gonna lose it now. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Right.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So my first San Diego Comic Con was in 1992, and my first portfolio review, I got it from Tom Brevoort.
Wow. Really.
Yeah, yeah, I will never forget that, because he made me go the distance.
Hmm.
He saw my portfolio. Of course, I brought Spider-Man
How old were you?
pages. I was 21,
Okay.
and of course, I wanted to be a Spider-Man, a Marvel artist, and eventually Spider-Man artist. So he went through my portfolio, and he said, "You know, kid, I can see you have talent here, but you are not ready.
Mm.
Go back home." Uh, he asked me a couple questions about my background and what I was doing at that point. And that, so he told me, go back home, finish school, and keep working, keep practicing, and I'll see you next year.
Mm.
So that urban legend, it came down because it was like, okay, so I'm not banned because I wasn't hired, but nobody told me you don't come back at all, or you're not good enough for this and that. So I came back to Mexico. I finished school, and the next year I went back to the Marvel booth. Well, it wasn't at that point in the Marvel booth actually, and at the convention, the San Diego Con wasn't as big
Yes.
as it is now. It was a
Yeah.
whole different, and and I was expecting to see Tom because I was that innocent and naive. Of course, he wasn't there, and so that appointment we had, it didn't happen. But I met some people, important people in my life, John Bogdanov and Walter Simonson,
Wow.
and I was with a bunch of friends, and we were doing the portfolio reviewing, but also being fans and attending panels and that. One of my friends wanted to be a Superman artist, so we went to this panel where they were having this the the Return of Superman panel
Return of Superman.
just after, yeah. So every artist in that line was there, including John Bogdanov.
Mm.
My friend, because how he wanted to be a Superman artist, came to him and asked him to if he can give us a portfolio review, and he said yeah. So he went to all our portfolios and he saw mine, and he brought us down to the main hall and brought us to Dennis Cohen and Dwayne McDuffie at Milestone Media, and he introduced us to him, and he and Walter asked them, meaning Dennis and Dwayne, to see our portfolios because they saw something. I don't know. They saw something.
Yeah.
So they saw, yeah. So they saw my pages, and Dwayne asked me, "Are you working with somebody already?" And I said, "No." And he said, Go nowhere else. Please don't show your work anymore. We want to have you here at Milestone." So that was my first job in the business with Milestone Media with Dwayne and Dennis.
Mm.
And well, then I worked with them for 2 years doing mainly hardware and then static. And in the meanwhile, John, he was the artist on Man of Steel, and they brought Steel, the black guy with the armor and the hammer. And DC had the Elseworlds annuals that they had at that time. And Judith, his wife, wrote that book, and it was some sort of a Civil War story with their character Steel in it, and they want me to draw it. So they asked Mike Carlin and Frank Viterisi, who was in charge of the books, to hire me to do that book, and I was doing that book, and Tom Grummett was doing, I don't know, 4 books a month, Superboy and uh, gee, Superman, or so one of those Superman books and another book. But also that year, DC was preparing the Zero Hour um, event.
Mhm.
So Tom couldn't work in 5 books or the many he used to. So they need a filling artist for Superboy. So they asked me to do, after finishing the annual that I did, they asked me to do 2 issues on Superboy. So I did those, and by the end of those, I got a call from Brian Augustine, and he told me, well, we're doing this thing called Zero Hour, and by the end of the series, we're gonna have this new character called Impulse, and we're gonna give him an ongoing series, and we want you to draw it, and that's how my story begins. I mean, when I start drawing Impulse, as you just said before,
Yeah.
the business start looking at my work.
Yeah. So
That
yeah, because Impulse is when I first noticed your work. It's sort of when it first came to my attention. And I wasn't in the industry all that long either at that point. I'm trying to remember. I think you and I we first met at San Diego, did we not?
yeah, because I was a huge fan of yours
Ah, thank you.
with the Ray.
Yeah,
I love the
yeah.
Ray.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I did do that book. But speaking of influences, though, who influenced you on, early on? Because I know I know of one artist that influenced you. I'm not talking about myself because I'm not claiming that. I'm just saying, but I know one artist of yours who's no longer with us, who was a huge influence. But can you tell us some of the people that influenced? I know animation influenced you a lot. But what about in the world of comic books? Who really influenced you?
The first San Diego convention that I attended, the one that I went to see Tom Brevoort.
Mhm.
After that, I went to the DC Portfolio Review. And the late Neil Posner was doing Portfolio Review, and he did mine. And he said, if we wanted Art Adams, we would have hired
Wow.
him. So I mean, that tells you how influenced I was
Yeah.
on art work, and still though, I love Arthur Adams'
But what a
work,
thing to say
and
to a young artist too. What a
well,
I had a similar
you know,
experience.
but I never took criticism in the bad way. The person I am turns I turn it into challenge. It's like
Oh yeah, yeah.
like
No,
there's some
I get that, but that's not even a criticism. That's just that's just a dumb thing to say. I'm sorry. I mean,
yeah.
you may not feel this. I mean, I'll tell you my story. I mean, even before I had a comic book portfolio and I was ready to get into comics, I had a dear friend who he worked in the Marvel bullpen and he also did side projects and I was a painter, right? I was an illustrator, trying to be an illustrator, and so I had that in my background, but I wasn't really actively seeking illustration work because I was a musician at that time. But he was commissioned to paint these giant murals on a nightclub. So he asked me if I'd like to assist. I said sure. So we were painting these giant space murals in this nightclub on the Upper West Side here in New York. And then when they actually had the grand opening of the nightclub, a lot of Marvel people came in, and he introduced me to an editor at Marvel who was editing some of the Spider-Man books. And I just got into a conversation with the editor, and I just told him that I just started reading comics and I was really getting into it again, after not reading them as a kid. And he invited me to come up and show my portfolio. And I said, well, it's not a comic book portfolio. It's just some illustration stuff I've done. Come on up, show me your portfolio. Come on. So I go up there and I go into the office, and the editor's there with I know there was at least two other assistants, right? So this happened in a room of three people. And I get there and I've got my big portfolio full of paintings. I said, hi, how are you? And he said, hey, how are you? And he said, I'm about to open it. He said, hey, listen, before you open that up, what are you going to show me? I mean, why are you here? Why are you going to show me? What are you going to show me? I've got Todd McFarlane. I've got Eric Larson. I've got Mark Bagley. And he listed off all these people that he has drawing Spider-Man. He's like, what are you going to show me that's better than those guys? And I was like, wow, you asked me up here, right? And I'm like, well, I only know a few of those names, but I don't have anything to show you that's probably better than those guys. And he's like, so why are you here? And I just sort of packed up my portfolio and I left. And the most humiliating part for me was that there were two other editors there, that he dressed me down for, and maybe I caught him on a bad day. But that was not constructive criticism. That was no criticism at all.
Right.
So when you say that, it hits like right here, because I forget that memory a lot, because but never when I'm critiquing someone. That's just to say, I already have, everybody's influenced by somebody, right? If I see somebody that's influenced by you, Humberto, the first thing I'll say is, "Oh, you're influenced by Humberto. So let me tell you how Humberto does his thing. That gets it right, and then let them go off and find their own voice." But I'm sorry,
Right.
I interrupted your story, but I had to vent a little bit.
No. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, being from Mexico and I'm trying to break in the American superhero comic books. It's not an easy task at all,
No.
or wasn't at that time. I mean,
Yeah.
now we have all the tools. Now when kids comes to me and they ask me about how to bring me comics, it's like, man, it's that easy. Go to Twitter, ask your favorite editor that show a PDF. I mean, there are ways that makes it real simple. When I was trying to break in, it wasn't that easy at all. So I believe that you need to build some character in it, to add that to the equation. Not only being a good artist, but also have the little extra that will make you go against the odds,
Yeah.
because I was telling you, I mean, that convention in '92 was my first trip outside Mexico, and was my first trip without my family. I'm a family guy, so I've been never been by myself. I was with a bunch of friends or an artist from Mexico, but nobody who I can rely on. Not my mom or my dad, my siblings, nobody. It was just me. It's like one of those milestone moments, like that you prove yourself,
Yeah.
the person you are, or the person you want to be. So when I got some criticism about my work, I did it. I mean, it's like, all right, it's like right on. I mean, it challenged me more than took me down. So from the happily from the first day I got my first script from Milestone, I've always have a blank page to draw on my desk, always. And well, I have a really great time working at DC. Then I became friends with people, because of Impulse. And I became friends with these two guys that you might know. One of them is Joe Madureira, and the other guy is J. Scott Campbell. And they told me about this secret project that Jim Lee had. And he wanted to do some sort of Image 2.0, and he wanted to bring new, fresh, young talent to Wildstorm. And at that time, people actually, talked to by the phone. So I talked to Joe and Jeff a lot at that time, and so they invited me to that project, and I I happened to have a project in the works that I was about to put it out by Image Comics, and so I did this pitch to Jim, and he liked it, and that's how I get into the Cliffhanger crew, and Crimson happened, and it happily became a cult book, because it has a beginning and an ending, and it's great to hear people coming by to every convention that I go to and ask me about Crimson and when it's coming. When a new book will be out. Like,
how many issues did it run, Humberto? It ran quite a long time, right?
25 issues, 24 issues that I did, and the one that Carlos Meglia, the late Carlos Meglia, did, a guy that I.
That's the name that I was alluding to, Carlos Meglia. You introduced me to Carlos Meglia. I was a huge fan of his, and you introduced me to the man. And what a wonderful, wonderful person, And and I was so shocked when he passed away so young. But for those of you who don't know Carlos's work, please look it up. He is just a brilliant, brilliant talent. Argentinian, correct? Humberto, he was from Argentina, correct?
Yeah.
And it was always fun for me to hang out with creators from Mexico and South America and all over the Spanish speaking world, because I speak Spanish. I think that's one of the reasons when you came up to me, we started talking in San Diego. First of all, I fell in love with you as a person, because I could tell what kind of guy you were and the heart you had, and the love for the industry. And I remember speaking to you very, very early on, right? Because I got the Crimson graphic up here. I'm gonna show little self-serving event comics from the event comics days, a cover you did for Ash, but you did a series for me at Ash, which I was thrilled that you actually you came over to work for us for a little bit, and you did beautiful work. But all the time,
I was just going to be next to you because I
smell good. I smell.
I am
a
huge
Thank
fan.
You. Humberto, I appreciate that. But I got to tell you, it's for me, it's always about working with people I love and friends and people that are great to work with and immensely talented. And you graced our company with your presence on Ash. But I remember the entire time, every time we talked, I mean, I wasn't even at Marvel it wasn't Marvel Nights or any of that stuff yet. And you would always say to me, all I want to do is draw Spider-Man. That's all I want to do. So I remember when I became editor-in-chief and talking to you and saying, I want to do some Spider-Man. It's wonderful when stuff like that comes around full circle. But
I'm about to cry.
What was that?
I'm gonna cry now.
Don't cry. Don't cry. See, you're a very emotional guy. But I remember talking to you.
Go ahead. I was with you guys, Jimmy and Gia. We went to openers.
Oh my God! Yes. Yeah.
And
by the way, for those that don't know, Openers was a tavern that was 3 blocks from Marvel and 2 blocks from the apartment that I lived at the time. And Jimmy Palmiotti and I used to go to Openers all the time. I mean, the owners knew us, and we would go there for lunch. The funny thing is that I'm not a really big drinker. Jimmy's not a really big drinker, but we loved the atmosphere at Openers. We loved the owners. We loved the bartenders that were there. It was kind of like Cheers for us, but we'd always get a booth and we would pretend like, God, if we ran Marvel someday, this is what we do. But that's also where we created our company, Event Comics, where we created Ash, all that sort of stuff right there, sort of eating hamburgers at Openers. And then eventually we would invite people from Marvel to come on down. It just became a comic book bar to hang out with. And then for some reason, people thought that we owned the place. So we never discouraged it. We let people believe that we owned the place. And it was such a great place that we would pack it with people, and the bartender, the owners would just lock the door and say, the bar is yours, because we'd fill with Marvel and DC people and Wizard people and just comic book pros from all over the world. So when you say you're at Openers, I forget how many people actually would come there because it was a place to be, especially during convention season,
Right.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I remember having that conversation about Spider-Man at Openers. So I've always remember that chat we had, like as the time that that I became a Marvel guy, because, as you said, when you became EIC and Marvel, and you call me, I was like, I remember I told you, it's like, let me finish my DC contract. I need
Yeah.
to finish.
Yeah.
I love to do it, and you know that, but I need to be loyal to my responsibilities.
No, and by the way,
And
I would, me. I would tell you, you have to finish your commitments. You have to finish your commitments
yeah,
because if it's artist is working for us or a writer's working for us and they break that commitment, it's not just the wrong thing to do, but it screws up your whole publishing plan, right? Because you're counting
yeah,
on it's one thing if they're not delivering or they're late or whatever, but to just break a commitment is one of the worst things you could do, because you know
yes,
this as well as I do. Your name is your brand, right? Humberto Ramos stands for something. Stands for a particular style of book, a particular style of storytelling, also a particular brand of professionalism which you bring to your work all the time. Pardon me. Um, so yeah, so I totally got that. But when we got you at Marvel, I jumped ahead because let's see. Hold on, I'm bringing up the right graphics here. Mm-mm-mm.
yeah. I was. Let me tell you the
Okay.
little backstage story on that one.
Okay.
I was under the DC Western Warner contract, and I had to honor that contract.
Mm.
So I called the guys at Wildstrom, and I told them, like, I my contract was ending that year. So I called them, and I told them Marvel is calling me, and they want me to do a Spider-Man, and I want to do it, but if you want me to stay here, I will do so, because you guys trusted me first,
Mm.
and you hired me first, and I feel loyalty to
Right.
that. So please let me know if you have any plans for me. If and they say, and that's I was telling you before that I was watching your drink and draw with Dan video yesterday. So this is all Dan's fault. So thank you, Dan. You made me go to Marvel, and I like Dan a lot, but I never tell him this story. And because it was that year when I was listening to your chat yesterday, and it was that year 2003 when you got to editor at Marvel, and he went to be the editor at DC, and I guess he was, I don't know, trying to fix things, whatever, and they never called me.
Mm.
Nobody ever called me, so my contract ended.
Yeah.
But and I tried to call them call them at Wallstrom a couple times, and no, there was no answer, no response. So it's like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
free, and since from that day on, being a Marvel person, and that's the way I always wanted to.
Well, we love having you, man. But the other thing about you, Umberto, is that you're such a well-rounded creator. I mean, you've had a bunch of creator-owned success. I mean, you had your book Out There, which is another creator-owned book. You've worked for Soleil, right? You
Yeah,
just with I'm gonna get the name right, Kookaburra K, right? Which was
Kookaburra. Yeah,
Kookaburra. Okay, sorry about that.
okay.
But you're really truly an international creator on that level. Your work is beloved all over the place, and I, I know that you choose a cartoony style, but that people need to know that you are, from my point of view, one of the great draftsmen in our industry. I mean, I watch you sketch in your sketchbook, and it's the style you choose. But I know that you could draw better than anybody, better than me, better than the majority of your
No way.
peers. I'm serious, Umberto, because I mean I've seen it happen. I cannot do what you do. Trust me. But we were thrilled to get you on Spider-Man and eventually to Amazing Spider-Man. But you know what, Umberto, we're going to keep talking, but I'd like you to draw a little bit for us, because I know that there's artists and creators that are tuning in, they'd love to see exactly what I see when you do your stuff, which is it's like
Okay.
a magic trick, except you really are. That's the one thing, right? Now listen, when people love to watch other people draw, people love watching people draw because it's like a magic trick, right? There's nothing there, and then there's
Yeah.
something there. The difference between what people like yourself do and a magician is that for a magician, it's a trick. With you and other artists, it is not a trick. There is clearly nothing there. And when it's done, there is something there. With the magician, that's something that's there. It's just hidden somewhere, let's see if I can make this work. I'm gonna try to switch over to your.
Okay.
Let's see. Hang on. First, I'm gonna get rid of myself. All right, I'm getting rid of myself. Get rid of this graphic here. I'm going to get your screen here. I'm going to go full screen. All right.
All right.
So tell us a
That's my
little bit.
studio.
So yeah, that was so now we're on your Cintiq. We're doing it on the Cintiq, guys, because it's just a little easier without having to employ another camera to get Humberto to really see what Humberto's drawing. So Humberto, what are you going
Right.
to draw for us today?
This book that I'm doing now.
Oh yeah, hang on. I got the graphic. Hold on. Here it is. Strange Academy,
Yeah,
right?
Strange Academy with
You and
Scotty
Scotty
Young.
Young.
Yes, it's again, it's um, when you get to work with your friends is not a job anymore.
Yeah.
And the team we put together for this book, from CB to Nick to Scotty, Caitlin, all Edgar, of course, all included, is it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. I mean, if you go through the pages, hopefully people will be able to get those as soon as possible after all these ends. But there's a lot of work in it,
Yeah.
and every panel, every character, I'm trying to do the best job that I can, because I strongly believe the fans deserved it. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
so happy doing this book.
so
Thank you.
Umberto, when Scotty was first pitching this book at the Marvel Summit, uh, he literally was just like, I'm not doing this book without unless Umberto does it. That's it, flat out. If Umberto's not doing it, it's not happening. Oh, look at these telemarketers. Sorry, I'm just buzzing my phone. It's like they know I'm on the air. So anyway, let's. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go full screen with you again.
Right.
So Umberto, so who are you drawing today?
Well, one of the characters that we created for this book, one of the cool things about this book is that we got to start from scratch. Differently from the Champions, a book that I did before about a group of teenagers as well,
Mhm.
teen superheroes. We all knew the cast. We knew Miles. We knew Cyclops and Miss Marvel. All the guys we already know. But with this book, one of the cool things that I wanted to do, because of how the project was, is we are able to create all new content, all new characters, and so Scotty started sending me all these crazy ideas he had,
Mm-hmm.
and he sent me a list of, I don't know, 10, 12 characters that I have to design myself, and so I start sketching and it was a year and so process on the pre-production of the book,
Mm.
even from even start drawing page one. So so one of the guys that I came up with was, on the script says, this is Dormammu's son.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who the mom is, but I'm pretty sure it was a tricky business, that. So I sent this sketch, this character, and I think it was beside Emily Emily Bright is our main character.
Mhm.
Is the girl that we are from whom we are following this story.
Right.
I sent him a sketch for these guys called
Mm.
Doyle,
Now here,
and he loved it. He liked it. So that's how came up with
yeah,
this
I remember
sketch.
Scotty later on at a subsequent meeting coming in with the character sketches that you've done, and we were just like, oh my god, this stuff's amazing. I mean, you do some great character development work for us, Humberto. I mean, we've asked you to do, when somebody says, hey, we need somebody to design something, I'm like, Humberto, just get Humberto. He's fantastic at it. So here, Humberto, you use that oval shape sort of as the base, right, for the top portion of his head. Um, it again, guys, for those younger artists that are watching, it may be frustrating when you see somebody like Humberto, who's a seasoned professional, just sort of knock this out very, very quickly. But don't be discouraged. This is part of the demystification of the process. Um, this comes out of years of practice and getting it wrong. There's a certain shorthand that we use eventually
Yeah.
that we learn just through experience. I mean, Umberto's able to do this as quickly as he does because for years he wasn't able to do it as quickly as he can right now.
Yeah, right.
So
This is an all 49 old years old guy,
yeah,
been in the industry for 27 years already.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. So
you
so
learn a couple of things
yeah.
in the
So I mean, so
process.
to compare, and we do it all of us do it, right? When you were a young artist, Umberto, you compared yourself to working professionals, right? And sometimes that can be discouraging,
Yeah,
but you should be discouraged by it. You should look at it as a roadmap, right? Look at the people whose work you admire, and find out exactly how they got to where they were. Because trust me, they were not as good, when they were starting out as they are right now. Umberto, while you're drawing, I'm going to put up. We got a fan question here.
sure, go ahead.
Let's see, Mr. Haas. Thank you for keeping me going during this hard time. I have a question for you. If you could have two Marvel superpowers, what would they be? What would they be, Umberto? Superpower.
Superpower. Um, Read minds and being invisible.
Reading minds and being invisible. Okay. All
Yeah,
right. All right. Let's see. We got another question here while you're drawing. This is awesome, by the way. I'm so jealous. All
come
right.
on. You can.
Let's.
I've seen you working, so I know what you can do.
All right, let's see. We got a question here from Nicholas Cerrone, Nick Cerrone. Uh, how do you not get bored when drawing many characters, like people walking down the street? Soy fanático del trabajo de Humberto. Huge inspiration. So, Humberto,
Right.
how do you not get bored?
Um, I envy my peers because they can do um, thumbnails for every page they work. I can't. I had this. I'm really conscious of deadlines and stuff.
Mhm.
So so I pretty much go to the actual page and draw in it. I mean, my thumbnail is my final page.
Mm.
So I guess, well, I do perspective lines always,
Yeah.
pretty much in every panel, even when
Hey,
it doesn't feel like you need them. I feel is uh, um, my stone, my guide stone to know where my characters will go and how I can um, distribute the
ha-
action or storytelling. Yeah,
every time I see that, Umberto, because when I see your pencils and I see all those perspective lines that you work out, I keep thinking, I wonder how much of that is the engineer part of your family, and working the
yeah.
math and all that stuff out, and how these characters lay in perspective.
my dad wanted me to be an architect
Right.
because
It's clear. Yeah.
being a dad, of course, he was worried that I wasn't have a decent living
Mm.
from being an artist. You know, that's what you do when you get older and you are a parent.
Yeah.
And so he wanted me to be an architect. So I guess that's me trying uh, to follow my genetics with with
Yeah.
my from my family. Yeah.
All right, let's see. We got another one here. Another question for you.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta blow these up or I can't read them. Oh, this is a good one. Is there any character you'd like to draw? This comes from Eric C. Jones. Is there any character you'd like to draw a long run on that you haven't had a shot at?
No.
You've done a
Well,
lot of characters, man. Roberto, when I look at the list of books that you've done, it's the amount of work that you've done is tremendous.
I mean, I'm happy to do anything because I love the
Mm,
job. I love the drawing part of it. But for the one character that I would love to do, I've done it already. And
yeah,
and to me, there's no other character more important, more iconic than Spider-Man. So I don't see I can't see any other character that I would like to
right.
draw more than what I feel when I draw Spider-Man.
That's awesome.
So I mean, I would draw as I did the the many Marvel characters or
Yeah. You there, Umberto? Hello? Oh, hang on. We lost Umberto for a second there. Hmm. Well, it's not a warm up without without technical glitches. Hold on, guys. I'm gonna have to hang up here. Hang on. Let me do this properly. Bring myself up here, and let's see. We're gonna try to call Umberto back. Sorry about that. Mm-mm. Okay, Umberto, if you're there, let's see. We're trying again. Hang on, guys. Hmm. No love from Skype. Okay. Gotta let him finish that drawing. Not gonna let him off the hook if I could help it. Okay, I'm gonna ask him to try calling me. All right. I really do hope you guys find this to be the charm of the show. All right, Skype me. Let's see if he gets back to me. In the meantime, I hope you guys are getting something out of this. I find Umberto's stuff and his work fascinating. Um, let's see. Come on, Umberto. He might be having trouble there. Try him one more time. Oh, well, it's kind of disappointing. We cannot get a hold of him right now. Hopefully everything's okay. Hmm. Nope, getting his voicemail. Okay, guys. Well, unfortunately, this is what happens when you go live. We'll try to get Umberto back. Maybe for next week we'll do a little something something. I'm going to run the close of the show a little bit long to see if he gets a hold of me. But I'm assuming he must be having some technical difficulties on his end because can't even get a text back from him at this point. But we will find out. Let's see. Hold on. What's going on here? Hmm. Okay. Nothing yet. In the meantime, as we get to a close here, let me go back. You guys, as always, you can reach me through my social handles. I want to say thank you for being here, but more importantly, I need to give out big thanks. Hang on, hang on. Where are we? Where are we? Oh yeah, hang on. I need to give big thanks to our social group, our gang out there of new media. These are the people that help me behind the scenes, try to make some semblance of the show. Ron Richards, Brendan Bigley, Alex Lopez, Haley Canaster, and Stephen Fuhrer. Guys, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for making this run as smoothly as it possibly can. Any of the mistakes you guys see that happen, they happen on my end because I'm either pushing the wrong button or Skype is blowing up on us. Is not the first time. So I apologize for that. I apologize to Humberto, and hopefully we'll have him back on to finish that Dormammu piece and to finish our conversation. We had a little bit more to go. In the meantime, to be continued, literally to be continued. And next issue, you guys are wondering, next issue, this was issue 6, issue 7, story time with me. So thanks to Tom Brewer. He made a suggestion that I should do some story breakdowns of previous pages that I've done. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you guys want to get ahead of this, I'm going to break down the storytelling of an 11-page story I did with Grant Morrison for the Miracle Man. I believe it was a Miracle Man annual. It was 11 pages. So if you guys have that book handy, have it by you and we can go over it. I will be showing the artwork and how I broke it down and give you my sort of theories on storytelling. If you don't have the issue, I'm sure it's available, digitally. So, go check it out if you want to sort of play along. You don't have to have it because I will show you the images here, but however you want to go and do this thing with me. So again, thank you very much. Thank you, Humberto. Sorry about what happened, guys. I'm glad we got as much time as we did with Humberto. I will be checking up with him when I get off the air here. So in the meantime, stay safe, hug your loved ones, wash your hands, and I will see you in the funny books.